This is my little sister, Vanessa. She's 13 years old, and she's the funniest, sweetest person I know. Lately, I've been so intrigued by her generation and how she and her friends use social media. With her friends, she's playful like any other 13-year-old, but I wanted to know how social media affects her and her age group.
What is your name?
My name is Vanessa Cohen.
She thinks it's funny because that's my sister. Anyway, how much time do you think you spend a day on social media?
Well, I set my Instagram time for a specific amount, and like about an hour, it tells me when I spent an hour, and I usually stop after that because it's too much.
In total on social networking, she spent an hour and 9 minutes today. No, this week.
Do you think that, like, you're missing out? Or, like, that social media is, like, making you unhappy?
No.
Elaborate.
I mean, I don't care, like, about other people. Like, I don't care. Like, if it's people that I don't care about, I don't like, and they're just doing something, I don't want to be there because I don't like those people. So.
How much time do you think you spend on your phone, like, doing other stuff? Like, texting and all that?
Probably, like through the week or through the day?
I guess, like, through the day.
Probably, like, 3 hours, 2 hours.
3 hours texting.
No.
4 hours and 7 minutes in total.
A day.
In total, a day.
Texting.
Just, like, including all my games and Instagram. And
Today so far. You spent, yeah.
Was that just texting alone, or...
Nope, that's just screen time.
Okay, do you think that you could last, like, a whole day without your phone?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to because I would lose all my Snapchat streaks. But, I mean, if I had to, I could, like, survive, but I'd rather not.
Okay, let me ask you, what is the importance of Snapchat streaks?
They're like it's like a streak. Like we had like you and me, we had a 445 day streak, and you broke it, and I want to choke you, and now we're at like 20, and I'm still mad at you about that. It's like it's like cool if you have a long streak and you just try to get there, and it's like fun. It's just fun. It's like a fun thing to do.
All right, what is your name?
My name is Brooke Nussenblatt.
How much time do you think you spend a day on social media?
3 hours.
3 hours in social media?
Yeah.
Your daily average is 1 hour and 48 minutes. Week is 12 hours.
Oh, yeah, okay.
How much time do you think you spend texting?
I don't text people as much, but I DM them like on Instagram or talk to them on Snapchat.
Okay,
Your daily average is 30 minutes.
Are you also, like, crazy about Snapchat streaks?
No, I want to prove something, so I broke all of them the other day.
Ooh, interesting. That's actually very interesting. Do you think that you could survive a day without your phone?
Yeah.
Really? Like, that was a quick answer. You really think you could survive, like, a whole day without your phone and be fine with it?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be, like, anxious or anything?
Just the phone. I mean, I've gotten it taken away before.
Do you think that the same could be said about, like, your peers and, like, your friends and, like, other people?
No, they wouldn't. They couldn't. They'd be like they'd be really anxious. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves in like awkward situations or stuff. They wouldn't be able to contact anybody. And
do you think that, like, the other kids in your grade are more, like, dependent on social media and dependent on their phones?
yeah.
So you two are different, though. Like, both of you are saying you could, like, be happy without your phones. Like, but do you think that social media sometimes, like, makes you, like, sad or, like, makes you feel like you're missing out?
Yes, sometimes.
What apps do you use the most?
Instagram and probably use Instagram and Snapchat the most.
Do your parents ever say anything to you about your social media habits?
No, because my mom has an Instagram too.
Do your parents ever say anything about you, like, using your phone too much?
No, they say that about my brother though, because he sits in his room and plays video games and sits on his phone, and then he goes out, works out, and then comes back and does the same thing.
What is your name?
Fiona. Brian. Yeah.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 13.
So, what social medias do you have?
I have Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube.
That's a lot. What do you use most on your phone?
Snapchat and YouTube. Like, I don't YouTube, but it's like half social media, half not really. So like Snapchat, I guess. Yeah.
Do you play a lot of games on your phone?
I play games like sometimes, but honestly, I use social media like the majority of the time.
So you're the first person your age that I've heard actually uses Twitter. So what do you use Twitter for?
Memes. Like, or not memes, but like to keep up with trends and stuff. Cause you know, there's a lot like for like the BBMAs or something. Sometimes if I want to vote for my favorite artist, you have to like trend a hashtag or something. You know, or like retweet stuff. So it's like just basic stuff, but memes too.
So meme culture is a huge thing. So like, how much time would you say you spend looking at memes?
Looking at memes.
Like both on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, everything.
Yeah. Maybe like maybe 3 hours. Like
The majority of your time, or like?
majority. Yeah. Or well, because I'm trying to think. It's like sometimes it's not even looking at memes, but you know how certain language and stuff just becomes more popular?
Yeah. So it's like that kind of thing.
That, and a lot of times they're from memes. Like that kind of thing, like reaction videos and stuff.
So do you think that you spend more time on your phone than your friends, or less time? Or the same amount?
More time, yeah. Because it's like I'm at Vanessa's house right now, but it's like the majority of the time I'm just on my phone at home or something. Like either doing a project or at home.
Do you think that social media ever like makes you like unhappy?
Oh yeah, oh my god, yes. Definitely. It's not that it necessarily brings me down, it just stresses me out. And you know, it's just a lot of unnecessary just pettiness and stuff, you know? But it really does have an impact on you when you're on it like all the time.
Right. What is your name?
Amanda.
I'm Amanda Lee.
So how old are you?
I'm 13 years old.
What social medias do you have?
Alright, well, like, there's a time where, like, I had, like, all of social media. So I had, like, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, House Party, Snapchat, YouTube, and everything. But the only ones I use are Instagram, Snapchat, yeah.
I mean,
Like, I also have TikTok, but I never use that. And then,
You're the first person to say TikTok.
yeah, I use, like, I went through, like, a phase where I had, like, TikTok obsession, like, watching TikToks
all the
for,
cringy
like, a
kids are
month.
kept.
But then I grew out of it, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? But, like, anyways,
Wait, really? Because most kids like your age are like super into. Well, from what I've seen on the internet, like kids your age love TikTok.
It's cringy.
yeah, they, like, I used to make, there was this one time where, you know, like, the love me. So me and my dance friends used to do that, like, every single day, and I just have a bunch of videos of us doing it, and it was really cringy, but, like, you know, it's okay.
So would you say TikTok is not popular amongst your age group?
Well, I mean,
Cringy kids.
it is popular, but I feel like I don't know, I just don't find it as interesting because it's like the same soundtrack over and over again that you just see with different people, and I like Instagram and Snapchat way more than I did ever with TikTok, because, like, I don't know, it's just, I mean, it is popular, just I don't think it's as popular like in our school as, like, other places. And
Right.
I feel like it's also more popular for, like, more like 16-year-olds because there's a lot of older people.
What would you say you spend most of your time doing on your phone?
Well, I spend a lot of time on Instagram, looking at my explore page and my feed. And then I also spend a lot of time on YouTube and Netflix. But yeah.
So do you think that you spend more time, less time, or about the same time as your peers on your phone?
Well, if we're saying that, like, because I do spend a lot of time on Instagram, but I know some people who spend a lot more time. But for Netflix, for example, like, I binge a lot, and for Grey's Anatomy, I'm on season 10, and I started like a month and a half ago.
Oh my god, you're on season 10?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I would say that I spend a lot of time on my phone watching Netflix.
Okay. Would you say that you've been involved in drama because of social media?
I have been online bullied once when I was like really little. I had Instagram, and then this older kid was like calling me like a bitch and like saying like, you're too young to have Instagram, you little hoe. And I'm like, okay, well, okay. So besides that, not really. I haven't had really drama.
Do you think that like social media is like making you unhappy, or like it like brings you down?
Well, I do sometimes like look at how many likes I get and how many followers I have, but not a lot. Like, I feel like social media is a place where I go when I'm like kind of bored or I have nothing else to do, and I just want to, I mean, yeah, sometimes it does bring me a bit down because like there are people who I'm not really friends with anymore, and I just look at their feed and I'm like, oh, okay, like they're like happy, like, you know. But like besides that, I'm fine with social media. I think it, like, without social media, I think I'd just be like a really boring person. Like, I still am, but like,
It's more of like a bored thing.
yeah.
What happened?
Okay, so on Instagram, I got a DM from this guy, and his username was like rawcart88 or something. But like, I got his account like banned. So he was like, hey, and then I thought, okay, so I just answered hey, and he was like, okay, and then.
Why did you answer a stranger?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't know.
Wait, what was his profile pic? Was it like a?
He was like our age. He was like 14 years old.
Oh.
He had like a public account.
Oh, it was
So-
it wasn't like a robot, like one of those spam accounts. or-
No.
So you answered
Not-
because he was maybe closer to your age and he wasn't like a creepy old man.
Yeah, if he was a creepy old man, I'd be like, I don't know, bye. But like, so I answer, I'm like, hi, and he's like, he's really creepy. He's like, okay, like, you're really cute, like, wanna send me some pictures? And I'm like, no, what the fuck, you little bitch? Like, sorry, but like, not really up to that. He's like, please, and I'm like, no. And he's like, just one, and then I'll stop on it. And I'm like, bitch, why can't you just understand what no means? Because like, he just kept on saying, and then he sent me a freaking dick pic. And I'm like, boy, you are messed up.
Wait,
So,
was
like,
it real?
shut up.
Like really him?
I don't know, you could have taken it from the internet, but like,
Could have been a
well, I don't know.
catfish. We don't
Yeah,
know.
but then he sent me the banana emoji and then a hand emoji. So like, obviously he was trying to like masturbate with a picture from a younger girl. So then I'm like, no. And then I started to freak out. I didn't tell my parents because like I don't know if they would like ban me from social media because like, but so that was a really creepy dude. And then I blocked him and I had my friend report him a bunch of times and then his account got banned. But then he also texted my other friend, Lily, and she got a similar message, but then she blocked them. So it's good.
Wait.
The last question I asked you was about like social media, like bringing you down. So like, do you think that like social media, like in your explore page, do you see like things that are like unrealistic for you, like unrealistic like beauty standards or like models or like?
Yeah, because I look at a lot of relatable stuff and like confessions and everything, and I just feel like a lot of them are just so fake, and they're just, it's like a fake life, and like they're not being themselves, and everyone's wearing so much makeup and everything.
So you
Like,
can see through the fakeness.
yeah, it's like, and then when people tell stories about everything, like I can tell it's fake. It's like that doesn't happen to anybody. Like, and then there's also the like people like these packs, like starter pack, basic packs, and I'm like, that's not freaking true. Like, you can't just make assumptions about everyone because like I'm basic, but like I don't wear any of those things. Like, I'm literally the most basic person ever, but like I just feel like they just make assumptions about everything you like wear and everything.
Do you feel like though, like when you say like basic, do you feel that you're like I don't know, like not like pressured, but like do you feel like a pull to like fit into like the category of like basic, the category of this, the category of that, like on the internet?
Well, I feel like at the beginning of 6th grade, I tried to like kind of get clothes that like everyone was wearing, but then I just started liking it. Like, it's not how I'm trying to fit into with everyone else. I just like the clothes now, and I buy like a lot of just basic things like like black and white shirts and everything, and Brandy Melville and ripped jeans and
But do you think like the internet like influences like what you buy?
yeah, because like I see one of my a person that I like on the internet wearing this, and I'm like, oh my god, that's cute, I want that, and then like I end up getting it, and then I'm like, hey, well, yeah. So I do have to say a lot that I buy is influenced from online and people wearing it and me seeing it, and I'm like, because before the summer I never knew that Brandy Melville existed until one of my friends said that want to go here today. I'm like, what the hell is that? And she's like, it's a clothing shop. And then I went there, and then I'm like, this is cute. And then I see everyone else wearing it on the internet. I'm like, okay, this is like a really nice shop. Like, I like this.
What do you think is like the biggest pro and the biggest con about social media?
Well, I feel like the biggest con is like it does bring some people down, and it does pressure some people to like fit in and try to be like what everyone else is. And then a pro is I do think that it's a good way of connecting with others and our friends and being able to share our lives with other people. But other than that, it can be really hurtful to some people.
Okay, one more question. Does social media like distract you from school at all?
Okay, it does make so sometimes I'll be like really productive and I'll get all my schoolwork done, but then other days I'll either watch like Netflix and then do my homework at like 10, or be on Instagram, and just it does distract me. I'm like, because I always procrastinate with social media around and like everything on the internet, and I get pulled into it, and I'm like, okay, well I can get my work done later. I'll just look at this.
I was very surprised by the answers that my sister and her friends gave me, because what I see when I observe them is an obsession with social media. Despite some of the things that they say, I notice that they're very attached to social media. The reason why I'm so invested in their social media habits is out of love and concern for my sister. While doing some research on social media and Generation Z, I came across an article from the Child Mind Institute. The article reads, "With social media, teens can curate their lives, and the resulting feeds read like highlight reels, showing only the best and most enviable moments while concealing efforts, struggles, and the merely ordinary aspects of day-to-day life. And there's evidence that those images are causing distress for many kids." Donna Wick, founder of Mind to Mind Parenting, says that for teenagers, the combined weight of vulnerability, the need for validation, and a desire to compare themselves with peers forms what she describes as a perfect storm of self-doubt. I was lucky enough to speak with Miriam Steele, who works in the psychology department of the new school. So, do you think that social media is harmful to Generation Z?
I mean, I don't know that we want to say it's harmful or it's not harmful. It's probably some mix of the two. I think that it's here, and so we have to deal with it being here. I think that, there is literature to suggest that it stops people from actually having human contact, and that people are losing some of those skills of what it means to actually be with someone in real time, rather than communicating only through social media. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I think there are ways of communicating and having to put your feelings and thoughts into words that you have to do for social media that are also explorations of feeling states. So I think probably somewhere, which is the case with much of what we study in psychology, somewhere in the middle is probably the right place to be, right? So a kid now who does no social media is probably going to have a bit of a hard time as well. But a kid who only does social media and doesn't interact at all with people in real life is also have problems.
But do you also think that there might be a different aspect, like, you know, if a kid is feeling very alone and they have, you know, nobody, no friends, and they find like a community on social media?
Yeah, so I think it can help in some of those cases, but at some point we're going to want to have that person move into a place that they can actually have a conversation,
right, of course,
and engage with somebody in real life.
I'm also kind of wondering about like development and like how kids, like, I guess, like, you know, they grow up and they learn. And do you think that social media is like hindering that, you know, hindering like development, like, well, of course social development, but like learning development? Because, you know, kids could either be getting smarter with social media because, you know, there's so much information, or they could be getting dumber because, you know, everything's just a Google away. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that, you know, probably all the way through, I mean, there is an explosion now around technology, but I think every generation feels like the new technology, like even way back when, you know, when there was a radio, there wasn't before, and then TV, and then all of our different iterations. So I think that, you know, those kids who are skilled at maneuvering around the internet and pulling information, there's still something about having to synthesize it. It's not as if that's not a skill set that isn't valuable. That's the skill set that's valuable for our time right now. Are they missing out on some of the other skills that previous generations? Yes, but they're gaining some new ones. So I'm not sure that we can really know. I think it's more in terms of, you know, what is being lost by not actually being able to be with people, watching their nonverbal behavior that is what is really cut out of social media.
Yeah.
Right? You don't get that. You know, even if you can Skype with someone, you're only getting their face, their eyes. There's all of this other ways we are as human beings with one another that's getting cut off.
Yeah. Do you think that like social media could also be like depressing kids, you know, with unrealistic beauty standards, influencers, you know, influencing kids to buy stuff? What do you think about that?
So I think, you know, the media has a huge role to play in those kinds of messages, and people then being at some distance between what they portrayed themselves to be on social media and the distance from who they really are. And feeling that can then add to the depression piece. With others, maybe they are finding a community where they're, you know, going against all of those norms, and so that might be helpful. But in general, it is a place to feed all kinds of images about the way you should look and how you should think, and you know, we're in an age of fake news. There's all of that going on as well, which is like a whole other dimension to this.
And kids are very impressionable.
Right.
Especially teenagers. And then also on that, what do you think that like the parents' role is in children's use of social media? Or maybe like not use of social media because kids will find it anyway, but maybe like, you know, abuse of it, the content that they're watching.
Yes, depending on the age of the kid, you know, it gets to be like a 15-year-old, there's probably very little that you can do. But keeping some open lines of communication going, so you have some awareness of the kind of sites they're visiting, and then being aware that to safeguard themselves, not to meet anyone that they meet on the internet. So those safety issues, not to go, you know, and I'd want to be aware of some of those really radical sites. You know, if the kid is going to a white supremacist site, you know, that to know what it is your kid is up to, just like you would in real life. You want to know where they're going out, who their friends are, kinds of things that they're doing, you know. But I think trying to curtail it is probably not the way.
I found Miriam Steele to be very insightful, and my conversation with her inspired me to sit down and talk to my own parents.
Ask us old folks about some.
When I was your age, I did
So
those.
newfangled.
There
So
was this
newfangled
thing
social-
called the internet.
Social media.
What's that?
So newfangled. Something.
Damn those kids.
Communication. So ask us old folks some questions.
Okay, so what I want to know is, what do you think of Generation Z's social media habits?
What age is Generation Generation Z?
Like Nessie's age.
From when to when?
Like
12 to 24.
yeah, like think about like the 13-year-olds. Like what do you know from like experiencing life with her in the house? How do you feel about like her age group's social media habits?
You mean living on Snapchat and Instagram?
So you think that like they live their lives through like screens and through apps?
I think it's the most unhealthy thing ever.
And I personally don't think that the ramifications of their obsessiveness around screens has been fully understood of how their social lives. There's one part about it when we were their age, we used to use the telephone. We used to speak on the phone a lot. And then,
Remember Bye Bye Birdie?
Mm-hmm.
So from a communication standpoint, it's just an alternative form of communication. The question is, when does it become addictive, and when does it become a negative impact in their social life?
Addictive, obsessive, and you find out what you're missing out on, what other people are doing. It's completely wrong. No privacy.
And once you're digital, it'll never be able to be erased.
Well, okay, like on the like opposing side, do you think that like social media and having access to like technology and information, do you think that kids in some way could be getting smarter and like have, you know, more of an understanding of the world or things that they wouldn't normally see?
So there could be a positive effect. It's not all negative, right? There could be a positive effect of research and access to information.
That's different than social media. Having access to information in Google and being able to find information for school or for other things is different than, and research is different than seeing what you're missing out on, or what's going on, or what Beyonce is doing, or this singer or that singer, or Drake, or whatever. I think no, I don't.
You don't find there's any, because from my age group, beyond Gen Z, there are things you see on social media that you learn. So like, I'm sure they don't use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very positive way to learn information about people in your social circles, in professional and personal. To a certain extent, Facebook, but Gen Z doesn't use Facebook as much as Instagram and Snap. So there can be some positive social pieces of learning and of what your friends are or not doing, but there's a part of being too addicted to the screens. Nomophobia.
What's the positive part? I missed that. What's the positive?
There's a positive part of a
Of what?
collective group of people being able to understand what each other's doing. Maybe not your inner circle, but an outer circle of friends that you don't necessarily always keep in touch with.
Okay, so for our age, Facebook is a way to communicate and find people that you knew from a long time ago and reconnect. For Vanessa's age, Gen Z, who are just creating circles of friends, you just see what you're doing and what other people your age are doing. And I don't know what the social benefit of that is.
So, Steve actually just mentioned a term I feel like he's coined, nomophobia. Could you go into that? Because I don't think that's a real word.
Oh, excuse
That
me,
is
because I think
that
you
is a
invented
real
it.
world, and you could take a test, a nomophobia test, to see if you're addicted. And I asked someone one time,
Not nomophobia,
could you?
mofo. Like
FOMO, fear of
FOMO.
missing out, FOMO.
Okay, but
Not,
that
but
FOMO
it's
is
fear of not having a Wi-Fi signal because you might miss out. And I asked, one of the tests is, can you delete the app for a day? And I did ask a person of that obsession if they could, and they said no. And the question is, it should be that can you put your phone down for any amount of time in the day, and you should have to. And there are people that just couldn't, they're so psychologically addicted to having their phone. Without it, they feel...
Holly just posted, who I love, and she said that she saw something that she was missing out on in LA, and she, for like, whatever it did, it made her feel really bad, and she said, you know what, my life is great, and I should be happy with what I have. I'm going off Instagram for a day, a week, or whatever it was. There's so many unhealthy ramifications of social media. There is some healthy part, but by and large, I would go to the
Negative.
negative. I definitely would. I think it's just too much.
Let's just say that there's like a kid who like feels kind of lonely in the real world, but like finds a group through screens, through like, you know, like let's say like a common interest or like a common like artist or like, you know, like video game or whatever. Don't you think that that's like the kind of like a positive thing for someone to find a group that they can connect with, but like online?
Yes, if it's a healthy way to find people, because you can't just go to a bar or a library or a club or a place and find people that you can connect with. But there's so many ways that people prey on, it's just, you have to weigh the good with the bad. So yes, there are ways to connect to groups that you may not have been able to before. Find people that are interesting to you and you're interesting to them. But then there's always that fear that someone's going to prey on you. I have a constant fear as a mother, a constant fear that people will prey on my kids.
So, but your point is communities. Communities of common interest are a potential positive. But in that, like everything with what they talk about, safety. How can you guarantee safety in a virtual world where you don't have an understanding of who that person could be, because they could be representing themselves as one of the members of the community and potentially be preying upon the people in that community. So the question is, yes, when you think about it in, I don't want to say an idealistic world, because it all isn't bad, but yes, the community concept is one of a very important relevance and value, and the question is, how do you keep it safe and guarantee its validity of its members?
That is a very good point. So my last question is, where do you see the future of social media and technology, and where do you see someone like Nessie in like the future on like in her social and like technological world?
You just don't know. I mean, for me, I use it sometimes in between meetings or in the morning as People magazine for people I know. But for people who grew up with this, it becomes an unhealthy obsession. That's one extreme. For people who have healthy, satisfying lives, it could be a fill-in, or it could be a connection, or it could be a way. Look, if it's something that you can use to be a career, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or something else, anything, that's a good thing. It really depends how you leverage the platform.
And the other thing that's going to be interesting to see, which I'm not a big believer in, but there will be and there is coming regulatory action around privacy. It's going to be a very big deal in privacy, and the question is, will it do enough to protect Vanessa in people who want her information for a multitude of purposes, whether they steal her identity, whether they're going to do other things with that, to the extent of, doing other bad things. So the question is back to the basics of what is social media with what's good about it and what's the potential harm with it. How does one protect themselves to get the genuine benefit from the good things out of social media and protect against the bad?
My mom and stepfather had a lot of great things to say and a lot of great points that were definitely in contrast to a lot of the things that my sister and her friends were saying, and Miriam Steele as well. However, I wanted to get a little bit of a last perspective from my sister.
So what is like flexing for the gram?
It's when kids who are kind of spoiled and get designer stuff and stuff like that, when they post it to make other kids jealous and to flex. So like pictures with like designer bags or like designer stuff or like a lot of technology, and they post it to make other kids feel bad for not having it, or to just be annoying and flex on kids.
Does social media fill like an empty void or like an empty part of your life?
No, not for me, because I don't think it's that important in my life, and like other things are so much more important to me than social media. But maybe for some kids who, like their entire life is social media, they spend like 5 hours a day on it. Maybe for those kinds of kids, it feels like a void in their life.
Do you think like social media helps like with like loneliness?
No, I think it makes it worse, because you see other kids with other like you see kids with people, and then you're not with people, and then you can feel lonely. I don't think it helps. I think it makes it worse.
Do you think that like social media makes you feel like alive?
What do you mean by alive?
Like what about it like makes you feel like you're like living, Like does social media make you feel like more like alive? Does it make your life better?
No. It's like everyone has like FOMO. So like I have FOMO. So, like, no.
Do you think that like the internet is like making kids smarter or making them dumber?
It depends. I mean, some of the internet is good, there's a lot of information, some of which is helpful and some of which is good information. But also there's a lot of bad influences and bad things on the internet, and there's a balance. And it can be good, it can be helpful, but it also can be very bad.
What is it that like you look for on social media?
I mean, I follow like meme accounts. I follow people that go to my school, and I follow famous people. So most of the stuff I see is memes.
What I mean is like, what are you looking to gain? Like, what do you get out of social media that you don't get from the real world or other social groups?
I mean, I learn stuff about, like, some people post like skincare routines and stuff like that, and sometimes I like look at it, just like whatever. And like some people post like, oh, study tricks, and those are helpful sometimes.
And you can't get that from like real life?
I mean, I could.
But it's just more convenient, yeah. So, in the beginning, what drew you into social media? Like, why did you first use it?
Probably, I mean, I was interested. I was young. I was curious, and a lot of other people had it. So I wanted to know like what was so cool about it. So I used it.
How old were you when you got your first social media?
Well, I got a phone when I turned 10, so 10.
Okay.
That's when I got Instagram and Snapchat.
Do you think that 10 is too young?
Yes. It's because there's too much bad stuff, crawling around on the internet that 10-year-olds shouldn't be seeing.
How were you affected by this when you were 10?
I just knew too much. I mean, yeah, I just knew a lot, and then I taught it to my friends.
What are your grades like in school?
Straight A student.
So, do you ever think that like your phone distracts you from doing your homework?
Sometimes, like if I'm trying to do homework, I'll like pick up my phone and like start scrolling through Instagram. But I usually, when I start doing that, I like take notice to it, and I usually I just throw my phone like on my bed. Like on my desk is across the room, so I just throw my phone onto my bed, so it's on the other side of the room, so I just don't feel like getting up and getting it. So that focuses me because I don't have my phone anywhere near me.
Something that I always praise my sister on is how wise she is for her age. To wrap up this video, I just want to say I do think that social media can be harmful, but I also think that it is a powerful tool, and used the right way, it could do some good. On that note, all I can really say is I just hope for a good and safe future for my sister on social media. I hope this video gave you a better insight into Generation Z, and I hope you enjoyed the video.